I got us a little something.
Cigars. Wow.
Have you ever smoked a cigar?
I have. I used to smoke Macanudos.
I've never smoked anything.
Wow. You got to clip the ends of these off.
He said he cut them.
I guess they're cut.
Yeah.
I guess that's enough.
Yeah, that's the cap. I looked up some diagrams online, and that's the cap, and there is an opening. So
Yeah.
I guess I thought it would be like a clean slice, but I watched him take it to it looked like a slot machine lever, and he put the end in there, and then boop. These are called Mijo cigars. He told me he made this cigar for his son. Not this one specifically, because his son was trying to smoke with him, and he was getting sick off of him, so he made a more mild one. And I told him it was my first time, and he said, let's go with the Mijo. Okay. I've not smoked a cigarette. I've not smoked a marijuana cigarette. Mm-hmm. I have not vaped.
Mm-hmm. Did you ask this gentleman any advice on how to smoke a cigar?
Oh, no.
Okay. You don't want to inhale.
Okay. How about you don't tell me what to do?
Look.
You start.
It's just about the flavor.
Okay.
This is bad. I'm going to start smoking again now. This is going to ruin my life.
I don't think these have much nicotine.
Okay.
How's that? Is that good? You're doing quite a job.
You're just kind of puffed.
That's
You
something
don't
to
necessarily
watch.
want to.
Have you seen Pinocchio, where all the kids get sick from smoking cigars?
Probably because they're inhaling.
Hmm.
They don't know not to.
I know not to, but I don't really know what that means.
I've got my the back of my tongue pressed to the top of my palate.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of puffing.
All right.
Sort of more, just kind of.
Really toasting the hell out of this thing.
It's only gonna light if you. I tried to tell you.
Poison. This is Deep Dive Divas. Every third episode, Joe and I listen to an artist with but one studio album in their discography and share our findings with you. Son?
Yes, Dad?
No. Son. Son music. Tell us about it. S-O-N music.
It's like a distinctly Cuban rhythm. The instrumentation and the melodies and chordal structure are very similar to jazz.
Uh-huh.
I would almost call it a genre of jazz.
And why are we talking about son today? Because we're talking about the Buena Vista Social Club! Follow me to the island of Cuba, if you will. In the 19th century, slaves everywhere, as far as the eye can see. Well, as a result, you have the infusion of Spanish and Bantu cultures. Bantu's kind of like, it's like saying African because it's just such a massive swath of the land that is Africa. But I think as you find with pretty much all genres of music and all labels in general, the more you dig into it, the less it means anything. Now, on the Isles of Cuba, there is this emergence of this genre of music called son, S-O-N. And I think you were spot on with your rudimentary definition, in that there is a pretty standard syncopated rhythm that runs throughout son music, often using clave to keep pace. Clave is also a type of cadence of rhythm. And you also have the primary instruments of the tres, which is a derivative of the Spanish guitar, congas, trumpet, all these things. And the son music is pervasive throughout Cuba for a long, long time, for like 100 years. Let us fast forward to 1932, when on the Isle of Cuba, a nightclub is open. One of many, and it is called the Buena Vista Social Club. There are different nightclubs and club houses and social clubs throughout Cuba, much like they were in the United States of America, where essentially it was like almost like a guild, a place for people of various professions to meet, hang out, talk shop, and have a nice time. The Buena Vista Social Club was a social club for musicians. The club changes locations a few times throughout its history. Fast forward to the 1990s, people aren't really sure and can't agree on where it was, so it was kind of forgotten and lost to time. The kind of music that would be played in these nightclubs is typically traditional Cuban music, son music. In 1959, all that changed because Cuba had a revolution in which a lot of people died. And the man who came out on top, Presidente Manuel Urrita Llewellyn, is a good Christian boy. And as a good Christian boy, he abhors these nightclubs because there's drinking and gambling going on in them. So he starts stamping them out and shutting them down. And in very short order, this traditional Cuban music kind of has to start going underground. Prior to this, the piano player and one cutie pie of the Buena Vista Social Club, Ruben Gonzalez, said that this time was, quote, an era of real musical life in Cuba, when there was very little money to earn, but everyone played because they really wanted to. It's a hip swinging time in Cuba. After the revolution, it's almost impossible to make a living playing these almost outlawed songs. So what replaces the traditional music of Cuba are a lot of different American genres of music. Rock and roll makes its way onto the Isles. Jazz, funk, all become staples in Cuba. And as a result, several decades in, the son music is pretty much gone.
Would you say that the sun sets?
Terrible. In London, England,
Cheerio!
two women, Anne Hunt and Mary Faircarson, start to bring acts in from across Africa as well as, quote, Latin America. And they set up sort of little UK tours for these acts. So they're bringing in all these musicians from around the world to come and play on the British Isles. There's a predicament here. Many of these artists have all of their records back at home, and they can't really bring a ton with them, or they never recorded in the first place. So Anne and Mary say, let's start our own record label, which caters to artists from around the globe. And then we can distribute their records for them, sell them at shows, and make it publicly available at record shops. They, in short order, discover they don't really feel like running a record label. So after they put it into motion, Mary goes and moves to Mexico and just drops off the grid, whereas Anne is really just promoting shows. She's getting these bands gigs and everything. She likes doing that. She doesn't really want to deal with the recording side of things. So they kick it over to a kid, essentially, at the time, Nick Gold. He hears about Anne and Mary running this organization called Arts Worldwide. Nick Gold works his way up the chain of command and impresses his overlords by working with a group called the Shirati Jazz. They are a guitar group of Kenyans. And they get up to England.
Up, cheerio.
And their manager is stuck in Kenya as a political prisoner. So he is like, okay, I guess I'll take you around on this tour. And he does so successfully. He also is working in close contact with Ali Farka Toure. Ali Farka Toure is a Malian guitarist who will eventually rise to fair prominence around the globe. And Nick Gold essentially takes over World Circuit Records. He is carrying out this mission that Anne and Mary had set up to bring to light and prominence artists who might not get the chance otherwise. So in 1996, he orchestrates a 3-album recording process. He's going to go to Cuba and send other people down there to record 3 records. And he's going to bring musicians from around the globe to Cuba to record. You have to remember that at this time, relations between the United States of America and Cuba are tenuous at best. Just a few decades prior, it was all but assumed that nuclear war was going to erupt between Cuba and Soviet Union and the United States of America.
I don't understand, but there was a Democrat in office.
Well, you see, in Cuba, they're communists.
Right.
That's a problem.
But so
That's
are Democrats.
a non-starter. Well, don't get me started on the Democrats, okay?
I don't understand.
So anyway, there's an embargo in the United States on Cuba. So you are not allowed to go there.
Dumb.
But if you are one Cooder, you can get to Cuba. Who is Cooder, Joe?
Cooder is an American guitarist, mostly associated with the style of guitar known as slide guitar.
Yes, which means you have a typically glass or ceramic slide on your finger.
Or metal.
And it sounds like this. Who's he played with?
He's mostly known as a sideman for 2 of rock's greatest innovators. First, Captain Beefheart, who was a member of the Magic Band. I believe he quit the Magic Band after a show where the captain electrocuted himself and nearly died.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Somewhat on purpose. I think he decided that was too rich for his blood. And then Randy Newman, who he had a great relationship for years. But in the 1970s, he took off from Randy Newman's band to start a solo career. He had a number of great records of his own. He remained somewhat of a studio guy. He played with some of the greats. I meant to Google this. Is he
Cuban? No.
Like
it doesn't
Latino
appear
at
so.
all?
It does not appear so.
No?
It as far as I can tell, he had no connection to Cuba before this.
What's Rye short for?
Ryland Peter.
Ryland.
Cooder is hired by World Circuit Records to go and work on these 3 albums that are going to be recorded in Cuba. And he shimmies his way over there illegally.
Illegally?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's not allowed to go there. That's why he goes to Mexico first and then flies to Cuba because he is not allowed to fly.
didn't realize
He's not
that.
supposed to be there, period.
Right. I guess I just thought like he's Rye Cooder and no one's
No, they cared.
They're like, oh, you're Rye Cooder. Of course they're allowed to go to
Wasn't
Cuba.
allowed.
Huh.
So again, 1996.
What a cool guy.
So they get there. They start recording the first record of this trio with the Afrocuban All-Stars. They get through the record. Everything goes great. On the second record, it is meant to be a collaboration between a bunch of local Cuban artists, largely older artists. I think the median age is somewhere in like the 60s. Several of these members will be in their 80s and 90s as well. And they are meant to collaborate with these 2 guitarists from Mali. The 2 guitarists, when they apply for their visas to go to Cuba, have their passports disappear on them. And they are not able to go. Well, the recording sessions are booked. Everything's all ready to go. They need to put a band together. So they start scouring the island, in which they begin recruiting even more members. By the end of this process, there are going to be 20 members of the Buena Vista Social Club. Now let's talk about the cast of characters. About 3 of those 20 were intended to be on this record. You have Orlando Lopez, who is the bassist. Eliades Ochoa, who has a rock and soul patch. He is one of the lead singers and guitarists. And Juan de Marcos Gonzalez, who is also a member of the Afrocuban All-Stars band. Pretty much those other 7... What's that?
What instrument does that guy play?
He just kind of sings, and he's listed as the composer.
Is he the guy that sounds like he's doing announcements on
Yeah, I
several
guess.
of the songs?
I guess so.
One of my favorite features of the Buena Vista Social Club record is that songs will seemingly be interrupted with the guy who's telling you the plot of the song.
So they hunt down a bunch of older but well-known musicians across Cuba, such as Manuel Laicía, Ruben Gonzalez, and Compe Segundo. Just to give you a timeline here, the Malian guitarists book out. They cancel because they can't get to Cuba anymore. So let's call that day 1. Within 3 days, They basically scrap that entire idea for that record, negotiate with the record company to make an entirely different record, and then get 17 band members to come together and to make an album of traditional Cuban songs, son songs, and also even write a few. So this whole thing happens very fast, and they're going to cut this record in 6 days total. As you might imagine, having these different artists from around the world, largely the United States, it's pretty much Cooder and his son who plays drums on this record, as well as all these Cubans. There are interpreters present during the recording process, but Cooder, upon reminiscing about this time, said, "Musicians understand each other through means other than speaking." He seemed to have really gotten on with these people.
Even though I got the impression he does not speak Spanish.
I don't think he speaks a word of Spanish.
Yeah. Hola. Me llamo
He
Cooder.
doesn't even seem to try.
Toca la guitarra.
So the record is cut. It is not put out until 1997. Over an entire year elapses between the final day of recording and the release of this record. And it blows up. Within the first year of its release, it wins a Grammy and sells 1 million records. According to World Circuit Records' website, to date, it has sold over 8 million copies. If you go on World Circuit Records' website, a full quarter of their About Us page is just about the Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah, when you think of world music, you think of Lady Snake, Black Mombasa, Pitbull, and the Buena Vista Social Club. And that's pretty much it. That's what world music is.
Nick Gold, the owner of World Circuit Records, despises the term world music.
You don't say.
Because he says...
It's reductive?
Yeah, pretty much. I just want to get this.
There's American music, European music, and everybody fucking else.
Nick Gold said, "It's not right that all that expansive music should be looked at as one category. World music."
You're right. I forgot about the other star of world music, Ravi Shankar. 3 bands. And Mr. Worldwide.
While this record is being made, there is a director and small film crew present. The director's name is Wim Wenders. And Wim Wenders, spelled Wim Wenders, worked with Cooder several times, including on the films Paris, Texas, The End of Violence. Joe and I, invalidating how cool we are, spent a Saturday night together.
It was afternoon.
Spent a Saturday afternoon together watching this documentary on octogenarian Cuban musicians from 1998. Let's go through the characters. We're not going to go through all 20 members. So you have Compe Segundo, who to me is the coolest of the group. He is always in a suit, oftentimes pinstripe. Picture like a 1920s gangster, like a caricature of that.
Who collects action figures.
You can see he has a Buzz Lightyear on his like television set in this documentary. He is 90 years old when the Buena Vista Social Club is created. And he is never without a cigar. He is just kind of wandering the streets of Havana, smoking a cigar, and telling people how he likes soup. And I think he rules.
He at the time, he claims, anyway, I don't know if there's any evidence of this, that he recently impregnated a woman.
Yeah, he said his 4th child is on the way.
Wild.
We have Ibrahim Ferrer, who Cooder describes as the Cuban Nat King Cole.
I find him to be the most endearing character in the film. I particularly enjoyed his description of his, what'd you call it, an idol? He had a sort of a little saint. He makes little offerings to it. He pours him a little shot of rum. He leaves a little honey out. It's just a sort of a doll in a cool dress. He seemed to have a sort of a smile about it. You know, I don't think he took it too seriously, but he liked it. It gave his life meaning. He had a really nice stereo, I noticed. He really loved his wife. And they went through the streets and he was singing songs.
Yeah, his wife always seemed annoyed by him.
Yeah,
So I mean, there are extensive scenes of them just walking the streets and he's just kind of singing and they're holding hands. And she looks like she wants to die.
You think?
Yeah.
I think she found it sweet.
I think she hates it. I think she hates him and I think she hates it.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Okay. Ibrahim Ferrer was an orphan
It was sort of implied that he had a very successful career as a young man, as a sort of a pop singer. That
Yeah.
he popularized songs, probably had successful recordings of songs.
He's got crazy charisma and a beautiful, beautiful voice.
Yes.
He's a lot of fun.
Ibrahim's a star.
Then we have my favorite, Ruben Gonzalez, who is this adorable little hunched over man who just shreds the piano.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic. He's very soft-spoken. There's a scene in which Ruben is playing piano in what looks like a community center, and a bunch of little girls come around him and start doing ballet, and they're all wearing tutus and gymnastics clothing.
Yeah, he seems to be soundtracking their gymnastics class.
He's one of those people where when you watch him playing his instrument, it's just kind of a part of him.
Yeah, very unassuming.
He's not playing the piano, that he is one with it.
Yeah, there's no performance element. He doesn't mug at the camera.
It seemed to me that one of the unsung heroes and one of the smaller personalities, but a guy who was really carrying the team, was Eliades Ochoa, who I think has one of the best voices in the group. He again has a wicked awesome soul patch. He plays guitar very well, but he doesn't really get a ton of camera time because he's just kind of enjoying it.
He sings a song. He seems almost like a country singer.
Yes.
That was sort of like the mold that he's in. That's his style.
Sure. There's also Amara Portunado, who I think is one of the most fabulous people I've ever seen in my life. She also does the Ibrahim thing where she kind of walks through the streets singing. But people, random strangers off the street, start following her and singing along with her. There's a portion of the film where she is singing a duet with Ibrahim. She is bawling her eyes out during the performance, and it is so touching and beautiful, and I think she is a pip.
What?
A pip. Like Gladys Knight.
Great Expectations?
Yes. In the film, pretty much anyone over the age of 50 is perpetually smoking a cigar. It is, after the release of the album, the Buena Vista Social Club blows up, and people want to see the Buena Vista Social Club perform. This exact formation of these 20 members will only perform thrice. They play 2 nights in Amsterdam and 1 night in Carnegie Hall in New York City. And we are the benefactors of these performances because Wim Wenders follows them as they go abroad. And we get to watch the Buena Vista Social Club waddling around New York City. And
Looking
it
at
is
action figures.
Wonderful. So there is a scene in which Manuel Lycia comes across a series of action figures, cardboard cutouts, various memorabilia
Paraphernalia.
in this shop window. And he is like a kid in the candy store looking at all these various American icons.
Some of whom he knows who they are.
And some of them, like Bill Clinton, he refers to as that guy with the saxophone.
Sitting president of the United States of America.
Manuel Lycia at the Carnegie Hall performance looks like what I describe as Lil Saddam Hussein. Fabulous mustache, monochromatic olive, militaristic uniform. And they're really floored by New York City. It's touching in a lot of ways. One, you get to watch them go to the Twin Towers. They just seem so appreciative to be there, and they enjoy being there so much. Even when Lil Saddam is looking at all the memorabilia, he says, "This is the life."
Just these little cute toys.
Ibrahim Ferrer is very overwhelmed, but he also, when he's getting into a cab, as they're going back to their hotel room for the night, he just looks around and says, "So beautiful."
I'd like to shout out the sequence where your boy Ruben simply cannot accept that the Statue of Liberty is not as big as the Twin Towers.
They keep trying to explain it to him that this is the Statue of Liberty out there, and he goes, "No, that's the small one. Where's the big one?"
He thinks
And
it's the
he's-
Colossus of Rome or
He is
something.
so upset
He
that,
can't.
that the Statue of Liberty is as, quote, small as it is. So a lot of Wim Wenders' film is of the recording process. A lot of it is also of the Carnegie Hall performance, where the band plays that record cover to cover. The audience appears to love it. They already know the songs, even though this performance is only a year after the album has come out. Again, their one and only stop in America was at Carnegie Hall. I think that really says something about how popular this group and this record were. And they put on a great show. The lute player of the band does a solo behind his back.
When you're listening to the Live at Carnegie Hall record, It must be maybe the single lamest moment of soloing in terms of a technical precision point of view. And it probably gets the biggest audience reaction out of any moment, you know?
But it's a guy playing a lute behind his back.
Sure, but you can't possibly hear that.
It's pretty cool.
I really enjoyed Lil Saddam's performance of the song El Cuarto de Tula. One of, I would say, my yummy yummy song from the album, particularly when he is doing his announcement for the song, which is that Tula's apartment is burning down because of, I guess, a candle or something. I think that the way he does the announcement is just very charming. He's in costume. He performs with his hands. I always like a performer that uses their hands. He just really gets into it.
The band will play together 3 times in this exact formation, and then that's it. You get all these different variations of the band from here on out. Ibrahim and Ruben will play in an iteration of the Buena Vista Social Club in 1998 in Los Angeles, and in attendance at this particular performance are the likes of Alanis Morissette. Isn't that ironic? Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, 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 Diddy.
Do you think he's a wizard?
And Jennifer Lopez. Ibrahim stops the show and dedicates the song Mami Me Gusto to Jennifer Lopez because she is, quote, Hispanic. The thing is, all of the songs they have been doing up to this point are Hispanic, and the song Mommy I Like You is the one that he dedicates to Jennifer Lopez.
Well, he likes her.
I think Ibrahim's wife hates his guts.
Maybe you're right.
Various members try playing in the United States, but they have a lot of difficulty because of the embargo between the United States and Cuba. Something you might not consider, but if you're a Cuban musician in the United States, you're not allowed to get paid anything past your per diem. So you are not allowed to make any money off of your shows. It's whatever your record label is comfortable fronting you and documenting in paperwork ahead of time. That's all you're allowed to be paid. Cooder, for his efforts of breaking the law and going to Cuba and then appearing on film in Cuba, breaking the law, cost him $25,000 in fine, which he had to pay.
And he wasn't allowed to make any money off of it either?
Nope. Cuba's tourism industry explodes as a result of this. Not from American tourists, although some will find a way by going to Mexico first. According to an article in The Economist, quote, in the tourist quarters of Old Havana, it can seem at times as if every Cuban with a guitar has come out to sing the songs that Buena Vista made famous. Buena Vista Social Club brings Cuba and Cuban music to the world, but it also generates interest in Cuba and causes a surge of tourism.
When I think of Cuba, I think of the imagery of the Buena Vista Social Club.
Sure. Now, some people say that the Buena Vista Social Club was more of a big deal to the world rather than the other way around. Some people argue that, well, a lot of these are traditional Cuban songs anyway. A lot of Cubans knew these songs to begin with. Mm-hmm. Other people would say, well, a lot of these songs were dying out because son music was buried underground. So it kind of preserved, in a way, a lot of traditional Cuban music and caused a resurgence of interest in Cuban music. Toomey record label, which is one of the competitors of World Circuit, argue, did a little digging before I found that out. They argued that no one would care about the Buena Vista Social Club. They're not even that good had Cooder not been involved. And it's only because there's a Westerner in there that anyone cares about them.
I mean, I think that there's something to that.
I think that Cooder helped them get a lot of exposure. I don't think that he is the best parts of that record. Having a name on there that people know and a guy who has connections to people around the world couldn't hurt, right?
Putting the band together itself is an accomplishment.
Sure, absolutely. We now enter the aughts, and as you might imagine, with a band made up of people who are 80 and 90 at the time of recording, they start to pass away. In 2003, we lose both Compe Segundo and Ruben Gonzalez. Compe was 95 and Ruben was 84. And the great Ibrahim Ferrer passes away 2 years later at age 78. Eliades Ochoa, the Soul Patch Man, and Omar Aportonado, they continue touring with various iterations of some people who were on the record, some people who weren't, under the name Orquestra Buena Vista Social Club. They kind of acknowledge that this isn't really the same, but if you like the Buena Vista Social Club, there's still a lot here for you, and they're still playing songs from that record.
And I listened to some recordings of them, and I think it's perfectly. If you like the Buena Vista Social Club and you want more, their recordings are great. You'll enjoy it.
I think the Buena Vista Social Club was a band of a specific moment in time with a specific group of people who burn out rather than faded away.
Yeah.
And by burnout, I mean they literally died because they were so old. VAYA.
VAYA.
Que sabroso.
For those who don't speak Spanish, he said, "Oh my goodness, very tasty."
Each episode, we like to highlight the up-and-coming work of a discography developing diva. Today, that is Brendan Smith. Brendan Smith is a writer and musician from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, much like Jesus in so many ways. Like Taylor Swift, a fellow Pennsylvanian, he is feeling 22. Although he loves music, he mostly sticks to making the kind that you can create alone in your living room. Brendan, that is a place I often find myself, alone in your living room. The song that we are about to hear was written by Brendan about performing with a speech impediment, and it is now time to reel in the years with Brendan Smith and his track, Incoherent.
Apparently, I'm incoherent. All my words, they come out errant like throwing up alphabet soup. All my ponderings leave my mouth as poop. Yeah, my voice ain't great, but it got your attention. Strange things lead minds into retention. I know I'm a bit of an acquired taste, so until I'm acquired, I'll be in your face. Got guts, heart, brain, backbone inside. No more judgment will make me hide. If I get tongue-tied, it'll get tied around you, and I won't let you go until I'm through. Pretty boys are pretty boys and things you won't enjoy. And there's me, the one-man whore galore. Got my foot in the door, but they still got it shut. Now I'm walking with a limp, but I'm still gonna strut. What I mean I'm trying to say, and what I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say is that you all should listen. What I'm saying I'm trying to say, and what I'm saying I'm trying to say, and what I mean I'm trying to say to what you all been missing. What I mean I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say is when you listen close. What I mean I'm trying to say, and what I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say, that's when you learn the most. If I stutter, it's just a refrain. I'm done trying to sound the same. Fear will make you sound inane. I'll fight the tide and shout my name. If you close your mind, close your mouth too. 'Cause last I checked, no one asked you. I'll tell you who I am before you hear it from another, 'cause it's hard to judge an open book by its cover. What's the point of saying anything if you ain't gonna be loud? And what's the point of being anyway if you ain't gonna be proud? Some people talk for hours and they never say a thing. I've sung more than I've spoken and mean everything I sing. If I sound like this and I still speak out, then I really must know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not stuttering, just saying things twice, 'cause I mean them so much and variety's a spice. Pretty things but down the dozen, but that ain't me. I'm strange, was the fortune and give it away for free. What I mean I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, I mean what I mean I'm trying to say, it's hard to understand. What I mean I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, I mean what I mean I'm trying to say, the words come out unplanned. What I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say, wisdom ain't a tone. What I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say, what I mean I'm trying to say, it comes from soul alone. If I stutter then it's just a refrain. I'm done trying to sound the same. Fear will make you sound inane. name. I'll fight the fight and shout my name.
You can hear more from Brendan Smith. Contact us to submit your own music for consideration. View our citations, listen to a playlist of our favorite Buena Vista Social Club songs, and support Deep Dive Divas by following the links in this episode's show notes. We have listened to the album by the Buena Vista Social Club. What rating do you give the Buena Vista Social Club?
10 out of 10. Wow. One of my favorite records
To my
of all time.
7.5, which is high for me.
Really high for you.
We make a playlist every episode.
Well, we would. I didn't.
You didn't.
You could just listen to the album.
All but 3 songs are present on my playlist from this band.
Name them.
No. So my yummy track was Amor de Loca Juventud, which I think is just bliss.
I know the songs by the chronological order they play in because I listened to the CD and my car doesn't tell me what the songs are called. Let's see. Okay.
Amor de Loca Juventud, it has very pretty guitar. It has a sort of dreamy-like quality to it. It feels like you are listening to a sepia photograph. And it's a moment that I want to live in forever.
My yummy song is El Cuarto de Tula. Honorable mention, by the way. I'm going to give it to your boy Ruben on the song Pueblo Nuevo.
Yeah.
It was a coin toss, and then Chan Chan is also great.
Sure,
There's just
Chan
so many
Chan's
great
great.
songs.
Chan Chan,
Ry Cooder's favorite.
Ry Cooder refers to as their calling card, and I love that because I picture the Buena Vista Social Club, all 20 of them, most of them well past the halfway point of their lives, committing crimes and singing Chan Chan as the calling card. I think that's wonderful. The album, The Buena Vista Social Club, I found fluctuates. It kind of has 2 modes, going between being very folksy to very sexy, which when you know that it is being performed by people of a median age of like 75, it gets even hotter.
I think if you include all those percussionists, we're pulling that median age to like 58.
Sure. Now, I'm glad you brought up the percussionists because I noticed that on this album, there's but one track that does have a drum kit.
I didn't realize that, actually.
Every other song has drums, which I didn't know this. There's more than one of.
Oh, sure.
You have the timbales. And I could go on. But, I mean, you got the timbales.
What's the funny one that goes woo from the movie?
The timbales.
That's the timbales?
No. Dos Gardenias I found very sexy. I think it
Yeah.
might be the sexiest track on the album.
Definitely.
Y tu que has hecho is really nice and calming. 20 años, the vocal stylings are fabulous. I think the song ultimately is a bit forgettable, but I still like it. It's just on an album of otherwise perfection, it didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
It sort of sounds like Perhaps, which I had learned through this process is a Cuban song. So a gentleman named Osvaldo Fares wrote the song, and it becomes a hit for Bobby Capo, who is a Puerto Rican performer. Desi Arnaz then records it in 1948, which it is then co-opted by Doris Day in 1964, and of course Cake in 1996.
Confess, and please don't tell me, perhaps.
Joe, why should people listen to the Buena Vista Social Club?
So they can be cultured like me.
Well, as they say in Cuba, VAYA, que sabroso. What would you like to say to the listeners in Spanish, little boy?
Jamón.
Good night.